Okay, good morning. We are here in varying weather climates. It's the May 8th board meeting. Sarah, do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum. We have with us in the New York City office, our chair, Lisa Gomez, vice chair, Jerry Bromsky, our secretary, Beryl Snyder, Wellington Chen, and Alfonso Carney for board members. And in Albany, we have Ken Evans and Adrian Swizerski. And in Buffalo, Janice McKinney. And absent today are Joan Sullivan and Christina Coughlin.
Great, thank you. Well, first, let us congratulate our new president on the beginning of what I think we all hope will be a long and successful reign, and looking forward to all the exciting things to come.
Thank you. How about a round of applause?
There we go. And also, not to be shy on the accolades, Wellington was just named on the list of 100 most influential Asian people or something like that. Is that right?
Power of diversity.
All right, that's amazing.
Which is on this table. Yeah.
We've been on a roll lately. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get right to it. So behind tab 1 are the minutes of the April 10th board meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Al, any seconds? Thank you, Wellington. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, minutes are approved. Oh, sorry, somebody trying to say something? No? Okay. All right, moving right along, we have tab 2 for the adoption of Pace University. We've been talking about this for a couple of meetings, so I guess we're going to turn this over to Alex Sardine, as well as co-bond counsel at Damon, Pace, Orrick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, and Gabriel Maroos at the Maroos Law Group.
Thank you and good morning. At the April 10th board meeting, the board adopted a resolution to proceed for one or more series of bonds in an amount not to exceed $330 million on behalf of Pace University. Since then, the seeker review has been completed, the TEFRA hearing has been posted, and the hearing is scheduled. The TEFRA notice has been posted, and the hearing is scheduled for tomorrow, May 9th, and the PSEB approval has been received. Otherwise, the university and the underwriter is now exploring the use of bond insurance on the transaction. Staff is now recommending that the board adopt the necessary documents for the transaction. But before I turn it over to bond counsel, I wanted to provide some follow-up information on some of the items we discussed at the last board meeting. Al, in regard to your question about the percentage of the university's revenues coming from private gifts and grants, roughly 1%, while not unusual for an institution in the BBB rating category, Pace is undertaking what it describes as its most ambitious fundraising campaign in the university's history, the Campaign for Pace. With this campaign, the university is seeking to raise $300 million. And Jerry, in response to your question about the status of the university's Briarcliff campus, that campus was sold back in 2017. Unless there are any other questions, I'll turn it over to Damon and Gabriel to provide an overview of the documents. Gabriel?
Thank you, Alex, and good morning, Chair Gomez, President, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and DASNY senior staff. It's a pleasure to be with you today. As further detailed in our letter to the board provided last week, before you for consideration is the adoption of a general resolution and a series resolution relating to Pace University for the issuance of Series 2024 bonds. The Series 2024 bonds are to be issued in 2 series, and the proceeds will be used to, 1, pay a portion of the capital cost of projects located at the university's building at 1 Pace Plaza, 2, to refund all or a portion of DASNY's Pace University Revenue Bonds Series 2013A and the Westchester County Local Development Corporation's Pace University Revenue Bonds Series 2014A and B. And finally, to pay all or portion of the cost of issuance of the Series 2024 bonds. The proceeds of the refunded debt were used to finance capital projects at the various university locations. And now Damon Pace, my colleague from ORIC, will go over the specifics of the two resolutions now before you for adoption. Thank you.
Thanks, Gabriel. Good morning. We are now requesting that the board adopt a general resolution, which is based on the new DASNY model that will constitute the basic agreement between DASNY and the holders of the bonds issued thereunder. The general resolution authorizes the issuance from time to time of multiple series of bonds in an unlimited principal amount for purposes including financing or refinancing the costs of projects for the university, paying the associated costs of issuance, and paying or providing for the payment of outstanding notes or bonds issued for the benefit of the university. Payment of bonds will be secured by the pledge and assignment made by the general resolution of revenues and DASNY's right to receive such revenues, including the obligations issued by the university under an existing master trust indenture to secure the obligations of the university with respect to such bonds under the loan agreement. Secondly, be secured by monies and investments held in the applicable funds and accounts authorized by the general resolution and established by the series resolution. We should mention also that the university's obligations for this transaction will be secured by a mortgage on a portion of the university's New York City campus comprising One Pace Plaza and on the university's Pleasantville campus. As far as the series resolution, we are also requesting that the board adopt a series resolution under the proposed general resolution. The series resolution authorizes the issuance of bonds in one or more series entitled to benefit protection and security of the general resolution in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $330 million. The Series 2024 bonds are proposed to be issued to fund capital costs and refund certain bonds, as Gabriel described. The Series 2024 bonds are expected to be issued as publicly offered bonds in a fixed rate and variable rate mode, sold through a negotiated sale to a syndicate of underwriters represented by BofA Securities, Inc. However, the series resolution does not limit the discretion of DASNY's officers to determine to issue the Series 2024 bonds in other configurations than are currently contemplated. Additionally, the series resolution delegates to any DASNY authorized officer the powers more particularly described in our letter to the board, including to determine the final terms of the Series 2024 bonds and to execute and deliver various documents, including a bond purchase agreement containing terms and conditions that are customary in connection with the sale of DASNY bonds and the related loan agreement. So that concludes our presentation. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Not a question. It's actually, well, this is for Alex. Great news that Pace is off and running, trying to raise $300 million. Thank you for researching that, and thank you for coming back with it. And then Damon and Gabriel, thank you both very much for being with us today. Now, Madam Chair.
Anyone else? Any questions? I think this is a good financing and let's get it going. May we have a motion to approve the transaction, please? Jerry and Wellington, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. Moving on to tab 3 and the adoption of documents for the Shelter Island Public Library. And Steve Cozier is going to present with the bond counsel from Hodgson and Russ and Perlman and Miranda.
Thank you. Good morning. The board is being asked to adopt the necessary documents on behalf of Shelter Island Public Library Society. The board adopted a resolution to proceed for the library at the April 10th board meeting, and there have been no changes to the plan of finance. Since the April board meeting, PACB approved the transaction on April 17th. The TEFRA hearing was held on May 3rd, and the secret filing was completed on May 6th. And that concludes my update, so I'll turn it over to Chris and Steve to write an overview of the documents.
Thank you, Steve, and good morning to DASNY board members and senior staff. The proposed Shelter Island Public Library Society Revenue Bonds Series 2024 are being issued pursuant to the proposed bond resolution and series resolution. We are requesting that the board adopt the Shelter Island Public Library Society Revenue Bond Resolution, which will be a general resolution providing for the issuance from time to time of revenue bonds or other obligations of DASNY in an unlimited principal amount to finance or refinance costs of the project, pay costs of issuance, and fund reserves. Proceeds of such obligations will be lent to the library pursuant to loan agreements. The bond resolution is a new resolution based on DASNY's new model resolution and constitutes the agreement between DASNY and the holders of the bonds issued under the bond resolution. The bond resolution contains the basic terms of that agreement, including the conditions for issuance of bonds, security for bonds, types of funds and accounts to be established for each series of bonds, events of defaults and remedies, as well as provisions regarding such other matters as amendments and defeasance. Bond resolution does not establish a debt service reserve fund, but provides that one may be established if authorized by a series resolution. With that, I will now turn it over to Steve to discuss certain documents that will be entered into in connection with the project.
Thank you, Chris, and good morning, everyone. We are further requesting that the board adopt the series resolution under the bond resolution entitled Series Resolution Authorizing Up to $9,500,000 Shelter Island Public Library Society Revenue Bonds, Series 2024, authorizing the issuance of the Series 2024 bonds to provide funds to finance the construction of additions, alterations, and improvements to the library building and pay costs of issuance. It is expected that the Series 2024 bonds will be issued in two series, a tax-exempt series, a tax-exempt Series 2024A and a taxable Series 2024B. Both the Series 2024A bonds and the Series 2024B bonds are expected to bear interest at fixed rates. Raymond James and Associates will be the underwriter for the Series 2024 bonds. The trustee for the Series 2024 bonds will be U.S. Bank Trust Company National Association. The Series 2024 bonds will be special obligations of DASNY, payable solely out of the payments made by the library under the loan agreement on account of debt service on the Series 2024 bonds, referred to as the revenues. Payment to the Series 2024 bonds is separately secured by the pledge and assignment made by the bond resolution and the series resolution of the revenues, DASNY's right to receive such revenues, the monies and investments held in the funds and accounts established by the resolutions, with certain exceptions, and by the assignment by DASNY of the security interest in the pledged revenues, which Christopher will describe, granted by the library under the loan agreement. No debt service reserve fund is expected to be established for the Series 2024 bonds. Additionally, the Series 2024 resolution delegates to any DASNY authorized officer the power to determine, among other things, 1, the principal amount of the Series 2024 bonds to be issued up to the authorized aggregate principal amount of $9,500,000. 2, the maturity date or dates and principal amount of each maturity, provided that no Series 2024 bonds may mature later than 31 years from its date of issuance. 3, the interest rate or rates of the Series 2024 bonds, provided that the true interest cost on any tax-exempt Series 2024A bond may not exceed 7.5%, and the true interest cost for any taxable Series 2024B bond may not exceed 10%. And 4, the redemption dates and prices and redemption terms of the Series 2024 bonds. The Series 2024 resolution authorized officers, in addition, to 1, execute and deliver the loan agreement by and between DASNY and the library. 2, execute and deliver a bond purchase agreement by and between DASNY and the underwriter. 3, prepare and distribute a preliminary official statement and prepare, execute, and deliver a final official statement in connection with the sale of the Series 2024 bonds. 4, execute an assignment agreement assigning DASNY's rights under the loan agreement to the trustee, subject to certain retained rights. 5, execute a tax pledge and collection agreement by and among the library, the school district and/or town, the trustee, and DASNY, providing for the payment by the school district and/or town to the trustee of library tax proceeds received to provide for annual debt service on the Series 2024 bonds. 6, execute and/or approve any agreements necessary to effectuate the sale and issuance of the Series 2024 bonds. And 7, do and cause to be done all things necessary or convenient in connection with the sale and issuance of the Series 2024 bonds. With that, I will now turn it over to Chris to discuss a few more specifics relating to the project.
Thanks, Steve. As mentioned, DASNY and the library will execute the loan agreement in connection with the issuance of the Series 2024 bonds. The loan agreement will require the library to make payments to the trustee in amounts and at times sufficient to make timely debt service payments on the Series 2024 bonds. The loan agreement will also require the library to make payments sufficient to pay the fees, costs, and expenses of DASNY and the trustee with respect to the Series 2024 bonds. The loan agreement and the obligations of the library to make payments under it are general obligations of the library. The tax referendum previously referenced authorized a recurring annual tax levy in an amount sufficient to repay the library's obligations under the loan agreement. The loan agreement will require the library to notify DASNY and the trustee of certain events that could affect the collection of adequate taxes to pay debt service and operating expenses. To secure its obligations to DASNY under the loan agreement, the library will grant DASNY a security interest in its pledged revenues, comprised of all public funds, all revenues received by the library from its operations, and all other income available to the library from any other source. Public funds consist of all monies apportioned or otherwise payable to the library by the state of New York or a political subdivision. To provide for the payment of debt service on the Series 2024 bonds, the library, the school district, and the town, the trustee, and DASNY will enter into the tax pledge and collection agreement previously described. The loan agreement will permit the library to incur additional long-term indebtedness secured by a parity lien on certain pledged revenues, but not the public funds attributable to the tax referendum. Consistent with DASNY's financing guidelines, the loan agreement will contain the appropriate standard document provisions and may include additional security provisions based on market conditions and practices. The library's obligations under the loan agreement are not expected to be secured by a mortgage on or security interest in any other property of the library. The Series 2024 bonds are proposed to be sold in a negotiated sale to Raymond James & Associates, Inc., with the execution of the bond purchase agreement among DASNY, the library, and the underwriter. The bond purchase agreement contains the terms and conditions that are customary in connection with the sale of DASNY bonds. That concludes our presentation on the bond resolution and series resolution you are being asked to adopt with respect to the proposed Shelter Island Public Library Society Revenue Bonds Series 2024, as well as our overview of the general structure of the bonds and the financing terms and mechanics of the transaction. Steve and I are happy to answer any questions that the board members may have. Thank you.
For that thorough presentation. Any questions? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? I'll move. Thank you, Beryl. Second, please.
Second, Janice.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Any abstentions? Great. Motion carries. Next up is our very first president's report by our new president. Take it away, Mr. President.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. It's very exciting for my inaugural report to begin with an item that I think is truly important to DASNY, the culture, the evolution, our ability to retain. It's employee engagement. So I want to speak a little bit about the work that Sarah and the team has been doing around employee engagement. Following our April 10th board meeting, DASNY held an all-hands meeting for staff in Western New York. And Janice, you were not all alone there, and you were absolutely the hit of the party.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
By all accounts, members from staff from both Buffalo and Rochester convened. We were able to give special recognition to Rob Ryan, the Director of Construction and Western New York Operations, for his 15 years of service and his leadership. We're able to cover some of our accomplishments and strategic ideas for 2024. So I think that was a tremendous success. It builds upon the other employee engagement events that we have held around DASNY and will continue to hold to bring people together. On April 25th, in our Albany headquarters, staff brought their children to work. Take Your Child to Work Day, and that included an agenda of activities focusing on teaching more than 40 children about the wide range of services that we do at DASNY, We saw a young person with hard hat and construction vests while having an interactive field site visit via Teams. And looking forward to hearing what their suggestions were, what they would do if they were DASNY president.
There's a list.
Yes.
Oh, we can't wait.
Yes, exciting.
We'll share those. Right.
And last month, or later this month, I'm pleased to share, and for any of our board members who are interested in participating, DASNY will participate in the Corporate Challenge in New York City and in Albany. We have 35 joggers, walkers, and runners who are looking to participate amongst those two locations. For those who are more inclined to co-ed summer softball, we have a team, the Dorminators, that will be representing us in the league, and we look forward to various activities associated with that. On a more serious note about employee engagement, we have celebrated Diversity Month in April, as well as providing wellness programs, game shows, Diversity and Inclusion All-Stars, whom were named Julio Abreu Mojica and Thomas Christian, Tamika Dunaway, and Kate Seeley Kirk. That's a little bit about the work that's happening to build culture. Most recently, on the Nonprofit Infrastructure Capital Investment Program grants that were rolled out last October, the governor announced this. We have received applications that far exceed what our initial thoughts were. We have received 511 applications, and those are being processed on a rolling basis. To date, 70 applicants have been approved and valued at more than $24 million, and at least 60 million is available to award to qualifying applicants. So by the end of May, we'll have a more expansive report on applicants scoring and the progress for this program. As was mentioned previously, another marquee initiative by the governor is the New York Swims program, encouraging access and teaching of swimming for locations that are currently underserved. That program is $150 million competitive matching grant program to expand both access to safe swimming facilities in underserved communities. And there is also a grant component that's being handled away from us, focusing on lifeguards and some of the operational components of the program. So with that, in the first round, it's estimated to be 60 to 90 million, with additional rounds of funds being anticipated later this year. So we will be administering this in partnership with the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Summer interns, it's that time of year, and DASNY will be welcoming 20 summer interns. So we're excited to be able to provide that experience and hopefully develop a pipeline for future people to consider DASNY and state service. Along those lines, we also have our Public Finance Diversity Fellowship, which Portia has been a leader on for many years in terms of bringing that experience here to DASNY. And part of that, we'll have 2 fellows who will spend 6 months working in public finance and portfolio monitoring, learning about the bond issuance process from the issuer side. And then beginning in January 2025, the fellows will move over to a 6-month rotation with 2 of our investment banking partners, one at JP Morgan and one at Ramirez. Next item is media outreach. Press inquiries were primarily focused on routine questions regarding DASNY, financings, construction projects, and grants administered by DASNY. There may be some additional conversation on this during the executive portion when we talk about litigation. And finally, included in my reports are the seeker report and our monthly grant report for the board's consideration. And that concludes my inaugural president's report.
Well done.
Where will the summer interns be? How will you, geographically, how will you just decide where you're gonna put them?
Yeah, that's.
They've been assigned their locations, mostly in Albany, but also New York City.
Okay, terrific.
Sarah has a list. We have a list of their locations we'll share.
Thank you.
There's 5 at field sites as well.
So they're everything.
They're everywhere.
Construction interns, and
Yeah.
it's a nice
That's terrific.
opportunity, I would think, Steve.
And I think maybe we'll bring them over for the next board meetings. A little
Sounds great.
introduction.
I'd like that.
I think it's a great experience for them to see what we do and for us to meet our prospective summer interns. So hopefully we can do that.
And we'll do the same thing for the fellows, the two fellows.
Yes,
Have them in the meeting occasionally.
yes,
Either one or both.
yes.
Terrific.
Especially while we're presenting some of the important portfolio components. There's nothing like live presentations to help people connect with an
There
experience.
you go.
Focus
There you go.
very much.
All right, this is fantastic. Seems like we are off to a great start and an action-packed summer. All right, so I guess next up is Portia, tab 5, the Public Finance and Portfolio Monitoring Report.
Thank you very much. Just a brief market update for the members. Total year-to-date new issue volume for 2024 is approximately 155 billion, up approximately 23.5% from this time last year. Supply for this week is heavy, projected to total about 12.3 billion. Municipal bond funds saw inflows last week after reporting inflows for the week before. Tax exempt bond yields improved on Tuesday. The 10-year AAA MMD decreased by 4 basis points to 269, and the 30-year MMD decreased by 6 basis points to 377. U.S. government bond yields were also lower, with 10-year Treasury yield decreasing by 2 basis points to 4.47, and the 30-year Treasury decreasing by 3 basis points to 461. Since the April board meeting, the 1-year MMD has decreased by 5 basis points, the 10-year has increased by 4 basis points, and the 30-year has decreased by 4 basis points. During the same time period, the 10-year Treasury yield increased by 11 basis points, and the 30-year increased by 11 basis points as well. Also included in the members' materials are bond sales summaries. They include performance metrics. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Portia, did help? I didn't see the one we did, the St. John's one.
St. John's Episcopal. You know, we provide bond sales summaries on the bond deals, not on the TELP deals.
Okay.
Yep.
I just saw a listing and said, okay.
Yep.
All right.
But in the annual report, when we come back and we talk about activity for the year, so when we come back in June, we will have an annual report for
What were
TELP.
any issues with that specific?
No, no, all good. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else for Portia? Okay. Next up is Kim to introduce, as pursuant to the excellent suggestion, I believe it was Al's suggestion, to meet some of the elected office, or not the elected, appointed officers. And so turn it over to you to introduce your team.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have on the line today our assistant treasurers, as requested at the last month's board meeting. They're here to just introduce themselves to the board so they get a chance to kind of tell them about what they do. I'll start with Stan Reed, who's in the middle.
Hi, good morning. My name is Stanley Reed. I'm currently serving as the Assistant Director and Assistant Treasurer in the Investments Department. I have worked at DASNY for 24.5 years. 23 of those years have been in various capacity within the Investments Department. And that's my tenure here.
Next, Laura St. James.
Good morning. As Kim said, my name is Laura St. James. I work in the financial management unit. I work on new financings and bond administration, and I have been at DASNY for a little over 16 years.
Thank you, Laura. Next is Tanette.
Good morning. I'm Antoinette Tomlin. I've been at DASNY for over 27 years. I work on the debt management team. We bill, report, and manage all of DASNY's debt issuances.
And Steve Winters Bona.
Good morning, everyone. I am on a team with both Laura and Tanette in regards to the debt management, and I work with Stan very closely. And I want to say that I am very fortunate to have such truly awesome people to work with. We have a great team all around in finance. To summarize what our group does, I will compare that Portia's group has the exciting job of issuing the bonds, and we have the not so exciting job of administering these bonds, either through debt reporting, arbitrage calculations, debt service billings, and all sorts of things that may put you to sleep. So that is what we do, and we do it well. Thanks.
They can't
I
do-
love that description. That was fabulous. Completely accurate. If you do bond deals, you know that's the truth.
It's great to put some faces to the names of the appointed folks. And thank you for taking the time to meet with us for 10 minutes. Appreciate it.
And the work that you do is important. They can't do the front end without the back. end.
Absolutely.
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 Absolutely critical.
All right.
Thank you, team.
Thank you, team.
It's exciting. Thank you. All
Thank you,
right.
Kimberly.
Steve's in Albany today?
Yes, he is.
All right, Steve, over to you on the construction report.
Oh, you're not gonna-
Yeah, I do have
You have
my report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I got all caught
I'm
up.
excited.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
See, it is exciting. What they do, it's exciting. Apologies, Kim.
That's
I will
okay.
turn it back to you for your report.
Thank you. Included in your materials is the monthly financial report. It represents preliminary results for March 2024. Staff are still booking entries and allocating expenses and accruals. So we will have a more detailed financial results review in conjunction with the audited financial statements next month. Update on the year-end audit progress. Staff are working diligently to meet the deadlines for the financial statement audit. We're currently working with KPMG to review another potential firm that they will partner with on the audit, as Vallis Vindiola LLP once again could not support the audit this year. They do have Long Island Financial Management. They will continue to support this year's engagement, but they have limited number of resources that they can add to the audit. Last year, as a result of that, our MWBE numbers were pretty low. So we've been working with KPMG to try to identify another firm that they can partner with, and they have identified that firm. We had our procurement group undergo a vendor responsibility review for Catabac CPA doing business as Team Avaloria, sorry. They have supported the state's audit for a number of years. So we hope to add them to the engagement this year. KPMG will also be using assistance of the internal audit team for the audit, and our weekly audit status meetings are kicking off this afternoon to make sure we stay on target for issuing financial statements next month. On to more exciting stuff, our JD Edwards replacement, just to provide a brief update on the Dynamics 365 implementation. Iteration 1, which includes general ledger transactions, budgeting, and financial reporting, is underway. Fiscal year 22-23 GL balances were successfully imported into our test environment. They've configured and tested the GL chart of accounts and financial dimensions. Initial training on the financial reporter was completed last week, and staff is using the imported data to create their own test reports. Basic budget setup and configuration was completed with budget entries imported into the test environment. And then other items that are going on in parallel to this project, in coordination with our banking partners. We've been configuring the SK Global Suite, which sits on top of the Dynamics 365 system, which is used to automate certain AP transactions, bank reconciliations, and bank transfers. Functional and technical design documents have been issued for integration with PM Web, our construction management system. We're still working through the gap design documents. Once approved, we'll have a clarity on the development schedule. It's been an iterative process. We've been reviewing, we've been making changes. HSO has been going back and modifying, so we hope to have those wrapped up fairly soon. And then lastly, on the data project, all of our legacy data from JD Edwards, the tables have currently been loaded into a data lake, along with live connection to our new D365 environment. And we're beginning the mapping of the legacy data into the system. And that concludes my report. Is there any questions?
Busy.
Lots going on, yeah, and staff are doing all of this in conjunction with trying to get through year-end audit, so we expect to have some delays here and there as we try to prioritize what needs to get done first.
Any questions for Kim?
Before we go to Steve, I just wanted to add that for our interns, we pay them well, $20 an hour. I want that, recognized, because there are so many folks who do internships that do not have the ability to do them as unpaid. So our ability to pay people and recognize their work and contributions is important, and doing that at a wage that exceeds the minimum wage is important. So thank you.
That's good to hear.
It's a huge equalizer. I mean, if you have parents who can afford to support you with a free internship, that's great, but it's better to be paid for your work.
Does it apply to board members?
No, you have to pay us. That's great. Okay, Steve, over to you.
All right, thank you. The standard DASNY Construction Division board reports are included in the board book. A few highlights as follows. We had 8 new projects added to the Construction Division portfolio in the most recent reporting period. 3 from CUNY, 3 from OMH, and 3 for OPWDD. The 8 projects total about $45 million. We completed 1 project at Five Towns Community Center with a value of $7.4 million, and we had no dropped projects this month. Expenditures, we finished fiscal year 23-24 with expenditures of $753 million. That exceeded fiscal year 22-23 by $129 million. The cover project, the monthly projects report is from SUNY Albany Alumni Quad. We performed a stabilization project for a reinforced concrete foundation for an alumni quad building structure. There were several unforeseen conditions along the way, including the discovery of underground oil tanks, extensive deterioration of the foundation and the internal slabs, and discovery of hazardous materials. All in all, the foundation system was stabilized, as was the original intent of the project. Project budget was about $6 million. CHA Consulting was our designer. Design was completed in May of 2020. Mattoon Construction Services was our general contractor, and the completion date for the project was December of 2023. A few customer agency updates for SUNY. The FIT project, we received the most recent general contractor's project milestone schedule. The forecasted substantial completion date has now slipped into June of 24. Construction continues on a 7-day-a-week schedule, including extended hours and weekend work. The project is pushing for a fall opening. We are skeptical that can happen and have communicated that to FIT. I was last on site last Thursday. At UAlbany Colonial Quad project, that's the gut renovation of 2 low-rise residence halls and the addition of a fitness center, is scheduled to complete in June of this year. I was last at that project on April 9th. It's moving along nicely. We will complete that in time. At SUNY New Paltz, we started the Mohonk Residence Hall project. This is a $50 million gut renovation and the addition of a 4th floor. Substantial completion is targeted for July of 2025. I was last on site on April 9th. We have 25 SUNY summer projects beginning next Monday. The project value for the portfolio is approximately $50 million. We have 75 days to complete those projects before the August move-in date for students. As far as CUNY goes, the next scheduled CUNY meeting with our CUNY facilities partners is scheduled for May 23rd. I will be there in person with Kate Seeley-Kirk and Mike Stabulus from our staff. In the meantime, we continue with heavy project loads at Queens College, Hunter, York, CSI, NYC Tech, and City College. We continue to work with CUNY's facility staff on advancement of a few initiatives associated with project efficiencies. Also working on the CUNY and DASNY MOU update and working internally on some initiatives associated with CUNY as well. The DOH Life Sciences Lab project. As I noted last time, we moved to an approved contract back in March. Design is currently underway along with other planning and programming activities, and PLA negotiations have begun with the Capital District BCTC to get that agreement in place as construction is forthcoming. There are long backlogs of projects associated with OMH, OPWDD, OASIS, and HHAP, which is all good news. We did receive favorable bids for the Mid-Hudson Forensic Psychiatric Center, the new build. That's a $300 million project. We are soon to receive bids in for package 2, which is the building proper. Again, we're hoping for favorable bids in response for that package. A few administrative items. We have 42 open recruitments in the construction division today. That includes architects, engineers, PMs, and field reps. We're working on training and onboarding for new staff under the architect and engineer titles. We have 10 summer interns that will start on 5/30. As far as upcoming PLAs, we are working on a Rochester Psych Center PLA. Negotiations continue. And as I mentioned, the negotiations for the DOH lab are underway. We will next meet in a couple of weeks with the local BCTC to continue those negotiations. On the PM Web side, we now have 1,200 active projects being managed in PM Web. We continue to work simply on the migration of legacy projects from the contract manager system into PM Web. A few upcoming engagements. We will be attending the Society for Marketing Professionals on May 22nd, the SUNY Community College Business Officers Administrative Conference on June 3rd, and the SUNY PPAA Conference on July 16th. And that concludes my report.
Questions for Steve? All right. So next up, we have Nadine, who will introduce some of her team.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have our assistant secretaries. Everyone knows Ricardo Solomon, but I think he should introduce himself as well.
My name is Ricardo Solomon. And I'm happy to be here. One of the deputy general counsels, and I'm also happy to report that on May 17th, just a couple of days from now, I will celebrate my anniversary in terms of 6 years here at DASNY's. So, and they've been tremendous years. That's all
Everything else, Ricardo. Matt Moore is our other deputy counsel, but unfortunately he's out sick today. So I will turn to those on the screen, starting with Kay Edwards.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kay Edwards. I've been at DASNY now for the past 15 years, functioning in the role of managing general counsel for about 7 of those years. My areas of primary areas of responsibility involve managing DASNY litigation, providing support and advice to DASNY's construction division, working with DASNY's risk management team in matters relating to insurance defense, personal injury, general liability. In many of the matters that Steve just spoke to, we play a significant role in working with construction on those matters, including the PLAs, the DOH Life Sciences Lab project. I also serve as DASNY's FOIL Appeals Officer. So those are the various roles that I play at DASNY. Have a long history as a litigator at the counsel's office, working for private law firms, and even had a brief diplomatic career working at the UN. So my background is varied, and I'm very happy to be here at DASNY and to lend my over 25 years of experience in service to DASNY's cause and be a part of the DASNY team. thank you so much for the opportunity to chat with you this morning.
Thanks, Kay. Dina?
Good morning. I'm Dina Amudio. I've had the pleasure of meeting some, but not all of you. So happy to have the opportunity to meet you all this morning. I'm an associate general counsel. I've been with DASNY for over 23 years. Before that, I worked for one of the firms on DASNY's bond counsel panel. I work primarily on the financings, both with private clients as well as state-supported debt and other various public clients. And in that capacity, I work on not only the financings themselves, but also sort of post-closing asset management matters. I assist with the occasional, FOIL or litigation that involves, financing. Work closely with the DASNY teams in public finance, portfolio monitoring, and financial management. Also work with some of our outside or our other clients, including CUNY, the Department of Mental Hygiene, SUNY to some extent. Let's see, and I think that's about it. Again, it's it's been thus far for long and very rewarding career here at DASNY. It's a great place to be a part of.
Thank you. Last but not least, Fred.
Hi, good morning. My name is Frederick Clark. Nice to see everybody. I'm an assistant general counsel. I'm in my 8th year at DASNY. Very much enjoy working here because it kind of brings to bear all my previous experience in kind of one spot. Before joining DASNY, I was the managing business attorney, handled all transactions for the New York State Education Department, and I also drafted high-level administrative appeals on behalf of the commissioner. Before that, I was a partner in a local firm here for about 10 years doing commercial lending, commercial real estate, and some tax-exempt bond financing. Before that, I was a law clerk for an appellate judge for about 3 years. And prior to that, I worked in the New York State legislature as a counsel for the Bill Drafting Commission. So I'm kind of a Swiss Army knife here at DASNY, bringing all my experience to bear. I work on some public financings. I help with our legislative agenda. I'm primarily the real estate attorney for the agency, work daily with OPW, DD, OMH, and OASIS on their real estate issues and their portfolio. I also am a counsel to the grants unit. I help review grants. With RFAs go out, I work with the grants unit in preparing those, trying to make sure they comport with all the statutory requirements. Also work a little bit for Atlantic Avenue. Some of you may remember me. I handled all the Atlantic Avenue Vital Brooklyn transfers that we did over the previous 4 or 5 years. So just wanted to say hello, and I'm happy to be here.
All right.
Good to have you.
Thank you. So great to put faces to names.
Yes, very good.
Okay, and Nadine, I believe you're going to defer any further discussion, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
All right, so that will take us to the end of our regularly scheduled program. And could we have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the financial and credit history of a particular corporation, matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and proposed or pending current litigation? And I believe we can move. Thank you, Beryl. I think we can let the staff go now.
Yeah, the managing directors, and then we'll come back.
Okay. We have returned from executive session. No decisions were made other than to return to the public session. So unless there's any new business, could we have a motion to adjourn the meeting? I'll move. Thank you, Beryl. Thank you, Wellington. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Any abstentions? No. We are done. And there's a lunch for Robert, I think.
Yes, please join us.